Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. Tonight I am joined by a very special guest, former Coventry, Cardiff and Swansea Premier League striker known as the Flying Postman. It's John Williams. John, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, Jake. How are you?
Yeah, good evening. Very good. You played for quite a few clubs in your football career. Can I just ask you first, why football? How did that all come about?
It came about. A friend of mine sort of invited me to a trial game for a non-league team called Cradley. That's in the Black Country in the West Midlands, and he was there playing, and I was just sat on the side, just watching. And a manager came over to me and asked me if I played. I said, oh, yeah, now and again I play. So I got some boots on, and by the end of the game, he come over with a contract and asked me to sign it. At the time I was a postman, and it was a minimal amount of money, but it was the fact that somebody wanted to sign me on a contract after seeing me playing one game. I was quite impressed. So I went on to play for a team called Cradley Town, and we had a great season. We had quite a lot of good players at that time. Four of them made it as pros and had really decent careers. And during the time at Cradley, spotted by Swansea, who had Frank Burrows in charge, who was a sort of assistant manager or a coach on the coaching staff at West Ham, and that was a start for me in my career.
Yeah. Just for the people in the live chat, get your questions in towards the end of the show, because we're gonna get them to ask John at the end of the show. Your nickname, as you can see by the banner there, the Flying Postman. Were you actually a postman, or is that just a nickname?
No, actually, before I became a footballer, I was a postman, and the story behind the nickname, the Flying Postman, that was brought on by a famous commentator. Well, I like to call him famous, and he's also a top man, a decent director at Wycombe Wanderers. His name's Alan Parry. I'm not sure if you're aware of him. Lovely gentleman, honest, lovely bloke. Got a lot of time for Alan, and he came up with the name.
Yeah.
During
Yeah. So in your senior career, 452 appearances, 71 goals. What was it like? Because you played for Cardiff and Swansea. They're two kind of arch rivals. Who did you prefer out of the two sides that you played for?
Well, Jake, if I was to say I preferred one over the other, I'd be lying. Playing at the time when I was at Swansea, I felt very privileged. A club that started my career. Going to Cardiff, the manager who was the manager at Swansea was the manager at Cardiff also. Frank Burrows took me there when I was probably 31, nearly 31. Playing for Cardiff, in my eyes, was a privilege that sort of got me back into playing, getting myself back noticed, scoring goals, back on form. It's the best season I've ever had in goals to game ratio. But as I said, an honour to play for Swansea 3 times. As I said, I go back there all the time. My oldest daughter is from Swansea. I love the place. I love the people. I'm still in touch, as you can see behind me. Leon Britton, who also played for West Ham. He was there. He's a good friend of mine, and I've still got a lot of contacts down there. Gareth, Simon, who do a lot of functions and stuff for Swansea City for cancer. So I can't really pick out of the two because I'll be lying. None of them felt like a job. For me, playing for both teams was a privilege and an honour, and both sets of fans were absolutely fantastic to me.
Yeah. Who was your favourite manager you were managed by? Because I'm sure you were managed by a lot of managers, but if you could pick one, who would it be?
Well, it's close call between Frank Burrows, who I mentioned, signed me 3 times. He knew how to get the best out of me. He knew what made me tick, and also, I've really enjoyed playing for Bobby Gould, who was a Welsh manager, absolutely brilliant bloke. He's also affiliated with West Ham. As I keep saying to you, everything I think about keeps coming back to your club, Jake. And Bobby Gould, what a bloke. Frank Burrows, a legend. I can't speak highly enough of them 2 people who got my career going, and made me enjoy the best years of my life while I was playing football.
Yeah. From the opposite end to that spectrum, then, who was the worst manager you were managed by?
Can't say. Don't want to say. They know who
Yeah.
they are. More
um,
than
I
one.
I see you've got a West Ham shirt behind you there.
Yeah, yeah. It's an honour and respect to you and your site. As a kid, one of the first players that I watched play was Clyde Best. He was a bit of an icon in the area that I grew up and a bit of a hero. So, out of respect to you, Jake, I thought I'd put the West Ham shirt up.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Comments come in. Said pity we never had you at West Ham. There you go.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
What was it like? Because you played in the Premier League. What was it like? Just playing in the Premier League. Was it like living the dream?
Oh, as I said, I was there for 3.5 years, and first season was very exciting. I was in between playing as a striker and playing as a wide attacking player, as they would call it now, and it was absolutely sensational. Some of the players that you played against were, they were unbelievably talented. Some of the best players: Eric Cantona, Paul Ince, Paul McGrath. Too many names to mention. Alan Shearer was absolutely phenomenal. Roy Keane. It was, as I said, playing at that level, it was absolutely brilliant. And to sustain 3.5 years continually playing, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You played Upton Park once in your career. What was it like playing Upton Park? And you perhaps when you were there should have had a penalty when Tony Gale hacked you down. What's your thoughts on that as well?
West Ham was always quite an intimidating place to go to. The fans were very close. It was very close to the pitch. The fans were very passionate. The demand from their team, and if they weren't doing it, they get on their backs, and you could feel the energy that the fans put forward on the day that you were there. And if you were on the opposition side, you will get a lot of flack as well. But as I said, it was very intimidating to go to West Ham, and the time when I played, and fortunately for your team and unfortunate for me, I didn't get the penalty that I should have got. It was the most blatant penalty I've ever seen in my life, and if you ever get a chance to look at it, how it was not given, I wouldn't know. But West Ham went out victorious on that day, 3-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were the best and worst away grounds you visited? Because I'm sure there's a few that you went round. Some bad, some good. Just tell us about them.
Wow. The best ground at the time was obviously the Theatre of Dreams, Man United. Their ground was absolutely beautiful. The capacity was big. The fans were, the numbers that they had there was, as I said, coming out of non-league football and having one season in the lower leagues and going there, for me, it was, as I said, like living a dream. The worst ground was, as I said, playing in the lower leagues was probably Chester City. I think you had to get changed in some sort of porter cabin. And that is the best and worst in my case. Yeah.
You as a striker scored 71 goals in your career. What was it? What was the feeling? Perhaps scoring your first goal, scoring your last goal, just scoring any goal. What was that feeling like?
Oh, it's such a rush. It's undescribable. The first goal I scored was actually the second fastest goal in the Premier League against Middlesbrough. And as I said, the joy and the rush that you get and the adrenaline that you get from it, it just gives you such a big lift and a boost. It's like one of the best feelings you can ever have.
Yeah. For you, in your experience, what was your favourite part of being a professional footballer?
My favourite part was pitting my wits against the better defenders, against the better players, showing what I'm capable of doing, and sort of playing with the teammates that I had Steve Morgan, David Boost, Roy Wegley, Mick Quinn, Robert Rosario. One of the best fullbacks I ever played with was Brian Burrows, who very underrated. I think he broke his leg in the '87 FA Cup. He was massive help for me. He was such a good and talented right back. To this day, I can still say he's one of the best that I've ever played behind and privileged to play with. Mickey Ginn was playing, Lloyd McGrath. Really, really enjoyed it at Coventry. Yeah, beautiful club.
Yeah. I've seen clips today of you scoring a brace against Spurs. I mean, everyone would enjoy scoring a brace against Spurs. What was that like?
That was my second game. I've always been a big Tottenham fan myself. Sorry to disappoint you West Ham fans, but I supported Tottenham since I was 7 years old. I'm not even from the area, but the way they played their football, it sort of took to me. But scoring on the so-called ground of the team that you support, it was absolutely massive. And I sort of made a thing, and in my heart, every time I played against them, I wanted to score, and 9 times out of 10, I did.
Yeah. I mean, just being a professional footballer, living your dream from going to being a postman to being a professional footballer must have been just incredible.
As I said, considering I was at the age of 22, going on to 23, I was wanted to be an electrician my whole life, growing up in the inner cities of Birmingham, and to sort of see play alongside some of the lads that you had in your Panini sticker book when you was at school, and, match of the day, and then you're also propelled in the limelight. It's absolute a dream come true. It's a privilege to have played at the top level.
Yeah, definitely. Guys in the live chat, I've asked my questions now. There's a few that have come in, John. But before I do put them to you, please do the video here on Canning Town Len. Check him out using the link in the description down below. And me and John will be back in about a minute's time. Canning Town Len is your best place to buy custom portraits that you can buy on the internet. Canning Town Len does animated portraits like this one he did for me up here. They're absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't recommend them enough. So just some ones that he did for me. I've got this one here outside the London Stadium. I mean, it looks just like me, really. The best possible kind of animated portrait, kind of animated cartoon kind of picture I could hope for, really. They're absolutely amazing, and they are so realistic, look exactly like me, and they are very good to buy. So make sure you do click the link in the description down below to buy a portrait from Canning Town Len. I'd highly recommend them. Click the link in the description down below. He does animated portraits, non-West Ham related, West Ham related, lots of different backgrounds, any shirt, any background. You can basically customize it to your absolute kind of needs and what you exactly want. So click the link in the description down below to check out Canning Town Len. Come on, Irons. As I said there, check him out using the link in the description down below. Right, John, if that's okay, there's a few questions that have came in the live chat, and I'm going to put them to you now. Gareth has asked John what his favourite food is. Is it a beef dinner?
Gareth is beef dinner definitely every Saturday and Sunday. He's put in our chat group, and it's called Pics of Gareth's Dinner. Gareth, love the beef dinner. Keep it going, son.
David says, I used to clean the tunnel at Old Trafford, and I remembered you being sick coming out for Coventry. I still had the bucket. Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah, I was very nervous, and sort of being in that environment, it was new to me. I've never played in front of 65,000. I think that was my first time. And I threw up all over myself and everywhere. Sorry, Dave.
Kent Hammers, a usual viewer of the West Ham stuff, he says, was that 3-2 win for West Ham? Julian Derby got a couple of Colvin Russ's favourite. Pete Butler scored one of the goals for us, memory serves. See, John, Kent Hammers, he knows absolutely everything. He can tell you what happened 10 years ago, what minute it was, what goal it was. He knows absolutely everything. So...
Doesn't mention the penalty though, does he?
Words and Pictures says, evening John, thank you for your football and your entertainment. What do you think of the modern game? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The modern game has changed so much from the time that I was playing, and it's something that they've called it's evolved. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. It's very entertaining. The movement, the passing, it's like a game of chess. And you watch the likes of Manchester City playing, and as I said, what a beautiful sight. Every team now adopted different styles of play. They're pressing, also counter-attacking football, which I'm not a big fan of. If you've got flamboyant players who can exploit other teams, you should use that to your strengths. But as the managers are paid a lot of money now to sort of get their teams and to get results and to get trophies. I think football's changed from what it used to be. You can't tackle as much, you get sent off. A lot of players who are of slighter build now are, very influential in the game. They get touched to go over, they get free kicks, they get penalties. As I said, back in my day, I'm 6'3". I ran through and got absolutely clattered and got nothing for it. Today, you touch someone, they fall over, they get free kicks, penalties. But the game, as I said, has it changed for the best? It depends on, it's like having a certain style or a certain taste of football. I enjoy watching certain teams, and certain teams I just turn off.
Yeah. Gareth said also, ask John about the dinner question. I bet he will laugh. He will explain.
I'll just explain that one, Gareth.
Yeah.
You and your dinners, every weekend he puts a little dinner up on our screen and tells us what he's having, his Yorkshire puddings, and sometimes it's Saturday at lunchtime. Well, I always thought it was a Sunday roast, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Kent Hammer says, who was the best player John played with and who was his toughest opponent?
The best player I would say I played with, in my view, would be Peter Unlove. He was a little winger. They used to call him the bull away or bullet. He was from Zimbabwe. A very talented boy. He could do things that you wouldn't dream of doing on a football pitch with a ball. Roy Wegley was another one who I was very, very impressed with. Steve Morgan, very powerful attacking fullback. He's like the modern day version of Steve Morgan is the left back Benjamin Mendy. Powerful, direct, scores goals, makes goals. But for me, it was Brian Burrows, the right back, who, as I said, he was the accomplished top player.
Yeah. Dad says, would you like to play in the modern day game?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to play football at any time. Yeah, I would love to give it a go. Not now, but back then, yeah, if I was 22, 23 again, I'd love to have a go. Love to play.
How much harder or easier, just to pick up on that, would you have found it, in the modern day with social media and fans and kind of just living in the age we live in? Do you think you would have found it harder?
Very much so. I'm a very private person. I don't even have social media now. The only thing I have is a phone, which every person's got. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Snapchat. I don't do Instagram. I don't do any of that stuff because it's not for me. But as I said, it's pretty much, as I said, people's lives are flashed all over it. They're all happy to get the praises and all the good things. But when people start saying bad things about them, they're not happy about it. So you got to take the rough with the smooth. So for me, I don't think I'd be happy having my life splashed all over social media. Not saying I've got anything to hide, but I'm a very private person.
Yeah. David says, I had money on you at Wembley in the 100-meter sprint final. When the starting pistol went off, I thought I had blown my money. But when you had a bad start, what happened?
God, this is a funny story. I told this story in 442. Notts Forest were playing Man United, and I had a bit of a heavy night the night before, and I was a bit worse for wear. As the gun was about to go off, I was looking down the line, and there's a kid, a young lad, keeping the ball up, and he was watching us, and he was still keeping the ball up, and I was fixated on this kid, and I thought, who the hell's that? And then I thought, oh, and then as the gun went off, I thought, it's Ryan Giggs. So the gun went off. I was probably 5 or 6 yards behind everyone, and in my head, I thought, if I catch him on halfway, I've got a chance. So coming to the 50-meter mark, I leveled, and then as it went up, because I've got really long strides, Jake, 6'3". As it went on, I got quicker and quicker, and then there I was, £10,000 better off and happier.
Oh well, that's a great story. Kent says, John, who was your footballing hero growing up?
Well, I had so many. It was I always loved flair players, and for me, it was out of two players. One was English, and the other one was Brazilian. But I'm going to go for the Brazilian because of the flamboyant way they played, and it was Dr. Socrates, who was what a player, 82, 86. God rest his soul. He was a great, great player
Yeah,
and an icon.
yeah. Did you know Cyril Regis?
Yes, I know Cyril. I knew Cyril very well towards the end of my career. What a lovely bloke, what a gentleman. He's another icon that sort of paved the way for a lot of black footballers playing in the 70s in a very difficult time when racism was quite rife, and the way he conducted himself and the way he conducted himself even to this day, it's a privilege and an honor to have, to know Cyril and to have known him.
Yeah. This is another interesting question about kind of today's age. John, may I ask, what's your thoughts on VAR?
Oh, that's very frustrating. VAR is very Americanized. It's not for me. Players are there, they're scoring goals. Your armpits offside, your fingernails offside, your toes offside, your finger. It's very frustrating. You're not going to score goals with your fingernails. You're not going to score goals with your thumb or your shoulder. And I just think it's very frustrating. And a lot of the players are waiting around for ages to get these checks done. And it's, in my eyes, I think it's ruining the game. They need to get rid of it, I think.
Yeah. John had pace to Barnes, so we're getting today's team. He definitely getting our team because that's the way David Moyes likes to play.
Yeah, David Moyes is a very, very good manager. He's showing his credentials now. He showed it at Everton. He showed it at Preston. Funny story, I saw him, I think, when I went to America one year. He was on my flight again, another one. I never spoke to him because I had my head down. But he was on the same flight, Virgin flight as me when I went to the Disney World a few years, well, a long time ago now, probably 20 years ago. I think he was the manager of Everton at the time.
Yeah. Words and Picture says, did you ever think about management? Would you consider managing a club today?
No, I was never interested in management. It's very, very, unless you're successful, it's a very cutthroat business. And as I said, it's hard to motivate players. And watching experience I've had with managers, and some have got great management skills, some are absolutely useless at management. And, because they were great players, don't make them good managers. But for me, I said, I don't think I'd have the technical awareness, and my passion and my emotion would get the better of me half the time. So I don't think I'd be suited to management, if I'm honest.
Who was the biggest prankster you played with?
Wow, biggest prankster. There's a lad. Oh God, it's a hard question, that is. I'll have to say Michael Howard. He's at Swansea. His name's Knocker. Lovely, lovely lad. He's non-stop. Big Liverpool fan. I was going to say he's the biggest prankster I've ever come across. Even to this day, he's still pranking me now, non-stop.
David says, my cousin is in the parachute regiment. He says he met you at a wedding that you gate crashed. Is it true you bought everyone champagne and made a speech when you when you got rumbled gate crashing?
I didn't buy the parachute. The person that I was with bought the champagne, and as I said, the person that I met, his name's Steve Day. Absolutely brilliant bloke. I met him when I first signed for Cardiff. He owns a furniture shop. This bloke, we walked in, we gate crashed this wedding, and he was up on the mic doing a speech, and it was quite interesting, quite funny to see Steve, who was, I can still say, is a very good and close friend of mine, and it's a privilege to meet people like that who appreciate what people in the armed forces do. And he bought the whole wedding champagne, and he's a top bloke.
Yeah. Lloyd says, God, that's a hard one. What's your best memory in football?
My best memory. Wow, my best memory in football is every time I score goals. Playing at Highbury, we played Arsenal start of the season, and they were a massive, massive team. And we beat them 3-0. Mick Quinn scored a hat trick on the first day. We've done a chicken dance. That was one of the great memories. Playing at Old Trafford, playing at White Hart Lane, but also there was a Tuesday night game I played in. We went up to Ewood Park. I think Alan Shearer was injured at the time, and everyone was talking about them going top of the league, and fighting for the title. We absolutely annihilated them 5-2. Mick Quinn, I scored. Lee Hurst, who's a great player, scored as well. And that was a great night, beating Blackburn, who were big spenders and a big club, still a big club now. We beat them 5-2.
Yeah. Did you have a favourite chant that fans sung for you?
I was quite happy with the chant they had at Swansea and Cardiff, and also Kidderminster had a unique song that was quite operatic. A bit of a Beethoven theme or Mozart, I can't remember it. But also the Coventry fans' song for me, I absolutely loved, and even sometimes now I still sing it to myself in the head.
Words and Pictures says we need a striker. You'd fit in at West. You'd fit in well at West Ham. Up for it, John?
20 years ago, yes. 10 stone lighter, yes, but not now. I'm happy. But as I said, it'd be a privilege and an honour to play for such a lovely club now. I love the way they do things at West Ham. Jared Bowen, Michael Antonio, Souček, your favourite man, Mr. Dawson. They've got some great players now. Declan Rice. I've always been a bit of a fan for Mark Noble, leader, warrior. But as I said, I'm not a West Ham fan, but I appreciate they've always been underdogs, and to see them flying high now, long may continue. It'd be nice to see them in the top four and finishing strong like they're doing now.
Hopefully, yeah. You said just before we went on air that you met Michael Antonio when he was young. Tell us the story about that.
Yeah. I work for a sports management company now called Paramount Sports. Our manager the owner played in the World Cup, and I was sort of working alongside somebody, different agency at that time, who brought Michael Antonio from Hazen Yedding to Reading, and he played up at a game for Reading against Coventry, and I think after 5 minutes I had to walk out because I think he had an awful game. Carl Hutchins was the one who was mentioning him and saying what a great player he was, and watch this kid, and it was probably just an off night for him. And as I said, meeting him, he probably wouldn't remember me because he's met so many people in his life now. He was such a courteous, such a polite gentleman. He always had a nice words to say, and I've watched his career closely, and I'm really pleased for him because he's such a lovely person. As I say, I've only met him once, but first impressions and all the rest of it. He got his England call up, and now he's considering playing for Jamaica, which is where my parents originate from as well. So come on, Mick, put on the Jamaican shirt, son, we want you.
It's funny before you mentioned Craig Dawson, because Craig Dawson likes to nip into these shows sometimes, and he's just come in here. He's come back in, and Craig Dawson says thank you very much for the shout out. It's greatly appreciated. So there you go.
You're welcome, Dawson. Ex-baggies.
Gareth asks best and worst Swansea City memory.
Best Swansea memory: scoring my debut goal at the Vetch Field against Reading when I ran from the halfway line past the entire team, smashed it in the bottom corner. I ran over to the North Bank. I don't know what's the name of where your ultras are, your most passionate fans. Do you know it?
I don't know if I'm being honest. Someone will tell me in the chat. But yeah.
Well, I ran over to the North Bank, and it was like waves and waves of fans coming over, and me being of the nervous disposition, I got scared, and that's when the fans sort of, pulled me into them, and they embraced me as, Swansea Jack, and it was the best feeling I've ever had in my entire life. So yeah, the worst memory was the last game of the season when I was on the bench against Hull, and we were losing 2-1. And we were looking at going out of the league, and nobody was sure what was happening. And then all of a sudden, James Thomas, scored a hat trick. We won 4-2, and that was the beginning of Swansea's rise from the depth, and actually like a phoenix through all the leagues, got to the Premier League, and they're still going from strength to strength now. One of the teams I look at for their results. I sometimes do the TV for them. So yeah, as I said, Swansea's a club I hold dear. Cardiff, as I said, never been invited back. So say no more.
Was Mick Quinn as fast as you?
Mick Quinn was the fastest person over a yard when he saw a ball. If he wasn't having a pie, so he would say. He even used to say he's knocking Granny over to get to the ball. One of the best finishers, one of the best blokes, one of the best dancers I've ever been sort of privileged to play alongside.
Yeah.
Now he's a horse trainer.
Yeah. Gareth says, is it true Michael Howard broke your arm after you scored an overhead kick versus Swansea?
Well, this is a long story. It's not that long, really. I was playing for Cardiff, and the ball came over. I did a bicycle kick, being 6'3". I didn't think it looked very elegant. I landed on my back. As I landed, Michael Howard, aka Knocker, the prankster, stood on my arm. He was playing for Swansea. I was playing for Cardiff. Then he stood over me, growling, and I think it was the shock of the fact that someone stood on my arm. My arm went numb, and I didn't have feeling in the arm, and I was stretchered off, taking the abuse from the Swansea fans because I was wearing the blue of the other team. And years to come, Mickey Tills tells his story now that he broke my arm, but I was up and around by the end of the game, and I got the feeling back in my left arm, so it was all good.
Oh, good. David says, is it true you once had fans think you were Lennox Lewis?
Oh my God! Yeah, again, a very close friend of mine. We went to a charity do, and we all got in a limousine, and we pulled up, and as I got out, they all thought I was Lennox Lewis, and no, it was just John Williams.
Oh dear, that's funny. Here we go. Would John fancy his chances against Big Craig Dawson?
He's a very talented boy. I said he's another. All right, Craig, another one who's reliable. He's efficient. He scores goals off set pieces. I think me and him, if I was same in that age, we'd have a good battle. I think getting down the side of him, I don't think I'd have a problem, but it would be a good aerial battle. He's a top footballer, so yeah, I think I'd give a run for his money, and he'd probably smash me around a few times. So be a good little battle to watch.
The last question that's come in so far, David says, why didn't you have a pass to Kevin Nugent? Was it because of your goal bonus?
Kevin Nugent and myself, we formed an absolutely fantastic partnership at Cardiff and at Swansea, which I was sort of towards the end of my career at Swansea. We scored 44 goals between us. I assisted him, he assisted me. He was one of my best strike partners I can honestly put in my career. So I always passed to him. If you look through the ranks, I think there's something on YouTube where both the goals from myself and Nuge are on there. So yeah, big shout out to him. He's at Millwall 23s at the moment, manager, top bloke.
Yeah. Kieran's joined us all the way over from Australia. Morning from Brisbane, John, Jake and John, 5:35 a.m. I've got a couple of Australian viewers, John, and they pretty much don't sleep. They're just They're just up everywhere. They just don't
Morning,
sleep.
morning, Mr. Bruce. Morning, Kieran. Hope you're enjoying the show.
David says, with all these tough battles you've had, why did you bottle it against the mighty Yeovil Town and ask to come off?
Okay, let's just say I didn't bottle it. I got studied in my car right through to the bone, and I did try to continue. I did try to stay on, but the manager pulled me off because he thought better of it. He wanted to get me right for the up and coming games that we had to sort of get promoted. I think it was in the FA Cup, and we did win 1-0. And the person that Dave Hammond said I didn't pass to scored the goal. Kevin Nugent scored.
Yeah. Have you got a sneaky suspicion of who David Hammond might be?
Yes, I think I know who he is.
Oh dear. Would you have liked to play abroad? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I went on trial when I left Hereford. I went over to Austria to play for Austria Vienna, and I had a trial there for 2 weeks. Everything was finalised and organised, but the person who I went over with didn't sort of close the deal, so I ended up coming back, and I think I went to Exeter and Warsaw, and 19 or 20 other clubs. So yeah, I'd have loved to have played abroad. I've never been afraid of travelling, as you can see by my clubs. I've been up and down the country. Being abroad would have been, a dream for me.
Yeah. Does John have a question for David?
Yeah. I remember a young footballer entering a store, and he was asked to model a wardrobe, and he was asked to get it, and the doors were closed on him. What was the reason for that? David Hammond.
Oh, we'll give him time to answer that. And he's come back, not for that question, but he said getting him abroad is a nightmare. He never turns up. Oh dear. Just while we wait for him to answer, W&P says, I know you said you don't do social media. John, you have brilliant knowledge. And you're really well spoken. Very engaging. Maybe reconsider.
Oh, thank you very much. It's, as I said, I do TV for Swansea sometimes, radio for Coventry. I'm passionate. I love football, but I'm not a person who loves being in the limelight. I'll always speak to people and, courteous and polite, because that's the way I've been brought up. But, Instagram, Snapchat, I've never been on anything like that, or Facebook. It's not for me. So, I may reconsider, but I don't think I'll get many fans because, I said I'm an ex-footballer who's, reached the dizzy heights of his own dreams, and played at some of the greatest grounds against some of the greatest players. And it'd be interesting to see who's going to know somebody with a big grey beard and spectacles.
David says, I was looking for your boots. I think there's something going on between you two here.
What, in a wardrobe? Okay.
Oh dear. What do you think about Mark Noble? I mean, it's been announced today that he's signed for one more year at West Ham for a final year at West Ham until 2022. I mean, from a West Ham perspective, he's a legend.
Yeah, I've watched Mark Noble. He's reliable. He's a leader. He's passionate. He is Mr. West Ham. He was, as I said, he's a great player. He's a captain. He's always been there. This season, probably because he's coming towards the end of his career, but you need people like that in your team who've been through, who brings younger players on. He's very outspoken and he sticks up for his players. I mean, I've never played against Mark Noble. I don't know who he is apart from what I see on TV. But if he could sort of bottle what he's got and sell it, he'd be even richer than what he is today. He's a top player and a top person.
Yeah, definitely. There's no more questions that have come in, but you did answer this one earlier on. Just for Kent, who was the best gaffer or best coach you worked alongside, John?
Best gaffer, a joint. Well, no, there's only one gaffer really. The one who's took me everywhere 3 times, took me to Swansea twice, took me to Cardiff. Hands down, it's got to be Frankie B. Frank Burrows, assistant manager at West Ham as well, and a coach. So yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Everything I seem to talk about takes me back to your club, Jake. I don't know what's going on here. It's like a triangle.
Oh, well, there you go. Right, a couple questions have come in. Gareth says, if you can pick one player out of the following as your strike partner for one game, who would you choose from? Kevin Nugent, Lee Trundle, or Mick Quinn?
Whoa, that's a tough question. That's a tough question. Well, I like to be entertained, and I like to entertain. As I said to you, the biggest privilege is playing. I played with Mick Quinn. He scored loads of goals. I was tired when I played with Mick Quinn because I had to do all his running because they used to say that I was a little bit weighty, but one of the best finishers I've ever played with. Lee Trundle, I would have loved to have played him. I mean, I can watch Lee Trundle play. This kid is absolutely talented. He scores goals that you would never believe. But for me, hands down, the winner, the first name that came on there, Kevin Nugent, was one of the best strikers, that my strike partner that I ever played with, and what a great bloke he is. We had a few nights out in Bristol, so that's what I'm going to say to you, Nuge.
Yeah. Being a striker, there's many young strikers coming through kind of the Premier League at the moment. Who do you think is the most promising, young striker or young player that you've seen come through from what you've seen?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I get excited at players who've got flair, who've got pace. The young lad at Arsenal, even though I hate them, and he's just got in the England squad. I can't even remember his name. Saka? Is it Saka? Yeah. Very exciting player, very direct, very quick. Not saying he's my favourite, but he looks good. I like the look of Mason Greenwood.
Yeah.
Very talented boy, but he's more of a winger than a striker. Harvey Barnes is very exciting. Pity that he got injured. What a player he is. His pace, his energy, very direct. It causes, thank you. Very exciting to watch. But for me, I've just thought about him. Even though he's not a striker, the lad at Man City, Phil Foden.
Yeah. I was just about to say, would you include Phil Foden in that list?
He's an attacking player, but they usually use him in midfield. He's a midfield player, but he's very exciting. What a great talent he is. Great.
Yeah, definitely. I think for him to be getting in that side at the age of 20, getting in that Man City side, not every week, but nobody except really the goalkeeper and the centre backs are getting in there every week for Man City, and for him to be getting in there on a regular basis just shows to get in that world class side at 20 years old. He's got a massive future ahead of him.
The sky's the limit for him. You watch him; he performs the same, and he's got the same. Desire, passion and drive, whether he plays against a team from the lower level or from the highest team. And this is a great example that he's setting to show younger players this is how you should play. You play football like you're playing it in the park, that you love it and you enjoy it and you just want to give everything no matter what game. He plays every game as if it's his last game, and that is, something I always use in my line. When you play football, if you're a young talent, you never know when your career is going to be over. So play every game as if it's your last. That's something I live by.
A few more questions have come in, and David says, what are your memories of Sloper Road?
Wow, Sloper Road. Very passionate fans. I love going out there. As I said, it's the most goals I ever scored in my career in one season was at Cardiff. Got them promoted, and as I said, leaving there and moving up to York, which was something I didn't really want to do because I had a year left on my contract. But I went up to York, whether it was a right move or wrong move, it was something I had to do because the team that was at Sloper Road had a lot of young talent coming through, and they had a new owner come in, Sam Haman, and again, everything seems to happen when I disappear. They went to the Premier League, they went through the leagues, and as I said, it's nice to be part of the foundation of starting things up to getting teams to where they need to be. And Cardiff, Swansea, Sloper Road, I'm happy to do my bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. David's put a couple more questions in. What would you like me to refer to David as?
Dale. That's it.
Did you ever get did you ever get a red card?
Yes, I did. I think I got 2. I got one. Very good friend of mine. I was on loan at Notts County, and we played against Southend. I think I went up for a header, and I got elbowed in the ear, and my ear swelled up. And my strike partner, who was Paul Devlin, he was rolling around the floor, laughing his head off because my ear swelled up so big it was like on a cartoon. And I just saw the red mist, and the next tackle, the person who'd done it, I just went straight through him, snapped his knee off, and I just walked off because I saw the red card. That was the first time I ever got sent off, and I was only on loan. And I think that was sort of my demise of being at Notts County for a month. The second time, I was in a relegation battle for Hereford, and I went for a 50-50 with the goalkeeper, which I usually tend to do a lot with this, as you said, the pace that I've got. And accidentally his foot caught, his head ran into my foot, and I got sent off for that as well. And that was a pure accident.
Yeah. Kent says Lee Trundle was a right entertainer, a right maverick.
Yeah, even to this day, Lee Trundle is got to be one of the most skillful players that I've ever seen live. And I only played with him in charity matches. It was like watching someone do things that you wouldn't even dream of. How he does it, only he will know. Talented boy, lovely person, got a heart of gold, always willing to help people and go the extra mile. And as I said, I see him from time to time when I go down to Swansea, and it's one of the ambassadors there, and I don't think Swansea could have anybody better. And as you said, a maverick. The kid's got skills to pay the bills.
Yeah. Dale says, is it true pilots if I'm being honest, I've no clue what this is between you, but I'm sure it will wind him up.
Talking about if I missed a chance, he thinks it will go out into the air and knock a plane down. No, it's not true. As I said, the best goal tally I ever had was at Cardiff, so you can take that little speech back.
You can take that little dig.
Yeah.
Karen says, Andy O'Keefe asks when you're meeting him for a pint.
As soon as lockdown's down, mate, I'll be there for a pint with you. We'll go down to Ballston at Kings Norton. Love you, Kaz.
David says, when your son signs his pro contract, who will be his agent, you or your mate Steve?
Steve.
Oh dear. Richard, Dad, not Richard. Who is the most favourite person you've had on the phone?
Most famous, Robbie Williams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just name drop that out there.
Oh no. He was just when he left Take That, I think. He came out on a night out on my birthday with Phil Babb. He didn't come to see me. Phil Babb, who used to play for Liverpool and Ireland, the one who crushed himself in the post and hurt himself, his pelvis bone or whatever, pelvic bone. He phoned me up the next day and thanked me for having a good night out. He probably wouldn't remember me now because he's such a megastar, but I always remembered. Robbie Williams was in the same club as me, bought me a drink, and he was wearing a safari suit on a Wednesday night in Birmingham with Phil Babb.
Yeah. So that is all of the questions that have came in to this minute. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. John, thank you so much for coming on to take all of the viewers' questions and to answer some other questions as well.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated, Jake. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you. So that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you want to. Thank you to everyone in the chat, to Kent, to Words and Pictures, Kieran, Dale, oh dear, and to everybody else, Gareth in the chat as well. Thank you very much. Subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you are new.
See you,
See
Dale.
you.
Speak to you soon, son.
Thank you very much. And from me and John, bye guys.